Hello there! Tonight is finally the night when we're upgrading Jango Fett's Slave 1 with the announcement of perhaps a new UCS set. Perhaps that'll be the set that comes out on the 15th. LEGO are doing a May 4th event, which we will be live streaming here on the platform. But this build has been built for like 2 years. I'm pretty sure that's the longest any LEGO set has survived in my collection, at least without being broken down and rebuilt later on. A few pieces have been nicked. But today is the day we're going to be fixing this up and making it look like the 20th anniversary Boba Slave 1 with a few custom elements. I still have the last 2 green slopes printing right now, so it looks like they'll be done in about 2 hours. That gives me plenty of time to show off what I've done to this model and why I've made some of the changes I have, and also talk about the changes that I just really don't understand why I've done what I've done. You can see so many of the slope elements from the top here have been moved, and having built these littler blue sections, which is slightly more accurate, maybe there should have been a blue slope in there, slightly more accurate to what we see in Attack of the Clones. I think when rebuilding this, I'm just going to include the blue up to the 4 studs in the middle like the original set has, because for this size of a build, it just looks so much better. We've also added a few little bits of yellow here and there. Again, changes that we'll be making to the set. However, this stripe on the front, normally where the flick-fire missiles are, I think the stripe ends right here. It's quite soon on the official LEGO model. We probably will be trying to keep that the same as the set. So that's going to be an interesting take. But changes we've made to this set, I think the weapons are pretty much the same. All of this nose of the ship reminds me of the original set, minus the little cables that run down the side. This bricked up base was not like this whatsoever when building the original 20th anniversary set, and I will be changing this back to the design. Pretty much the set is going to look how it did for the 20th anniversary with a few color changes. That also means we'll be losing this giant plate sticking out of the bottom, which you've seen quite recently is what I used to hold this up for displaying it. And it stands on the shelf a bit more secure than if you were to stand it up on its original base. Though, that being said, it does stand up on its own. It is a bit more fragile and you do have to weight it. Perhaps I was leaning it against the wall. You can lean it and get it to stand up as it is. But if I was to let go, this thing would be dropping, and I'm trying not to break it up just yet. Other changes we made, of course, we've got the bottom. They weren't just recolors, these were different pieces. The sand green does look quite nice, but against the bright blue, the Slave one's meant to have a much darker blue. So I think to try and counteract that, we're going to use a brighter green, and hopefully it turns out quite well. We've also needing to slope this up just a little bit more, considering how sloped up the ramp goes. We've had to try and cover it with these tan bricks, and again that will be going back to the grey that we see in the original set. For the cockpit, I have made some changes, but we still have most of the weight. You can see the weight on the bottom for this middle bit that does have space to go the whole way around, yet when we lifted it with a minifigure, it didn't switch around. It didn't switch the I guess go vertical compared to horizontal. It didn't switch up with a minifigure on. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'll be looking to see if I've missed any bits and perhaps it needs a bigger weight on the bottom. But this cockpit, it's really nice. Even though it would have been nicer to have got this in a trans brown, trans black, it's still a really nice element to get on the Slave one because it gives you such a large field of view that you kind of need for a ship like this. It's not meant to be your bog standard TIE fighter. The back, again, mostly unchanged, probably a few pieces that have knocked off over the years. Can't believe I've had this built for so many years now. But now it's time. We've gone on about this one enough. Let's take a look at the modifications we made to make this the ultimate Jango Fett Slave 1, at least before the Ultimate Collector series comes out in May. Hello there everybody! Last week I saw a few of you on the live stream building the UCS Slave 1 using Boba's 20th anniversary. It's a little bit of a recolor. The pieces technically don't exist, but with thanks to the 3D printer just behind me, we were able to make pieces that don't exist so we could build Jango Slave 1 using that set. And I never realized at the time that LEGO did a similar thing for the Slave One in Skywalker Saga. You can see LEGO have gone with a light bluish grey instead of a blue for some of the pieces that didn't exist. But as soon as I saw this, I knew I had to try and take some tips, see what LEGO have already done, and it turns out great minds think alike. Like a few of you mentioned in the live stream, LEGO made all these sand green pieces grey. Did keep a little sand green in the bottom here, whereas I've used this neon green because it's the only colour we had in 3D printing filament. And they've also added the yellow strip there, which is what we wanted to do. The exact same yellow strip on top. They have, I think LEGO also recolored this to be light grey rather than dark grey. I don't mind the dark grey too much, and they kept this tan piece down there, which we did change into a grille. But besides that, all of this top is completely different. Before we get to the top, I would like to address something with this stripe. This stripe is massive, 6 studs wide. I think it should be more like 2. And I have done this using the same modification I did when I first built Jango Fett's Slave 1. Rather than having the 1x3 rounded slope and then the 1x2 sharper angled slope, I have used 2 1x3 slopes instead, and that has allowed for a 1x2 to fit just in the middle. And by including the 1x1 plate on the bottom of the 1x3 slope, there's not really any gaps. Comparing that 1x2 to the 1x3, I guess LEGO literally just recolored pieces and weren't thinking of moving anything around, so the Slave One kept the same model, and there was some consistency, but I just don't like the fact that that yellow stripe takes up most of that side. And also on top, that means LEGO really didn't do much to improve Boba's fire spray. Boba's fire spray, Slave 1, they're basically the same vessel, but I'm pretty sure, at least mostly as far as Star Wars consistency is concerned, Boba never refers to his ship as the Slave 1. I'm sure it might have been called that in the 70s and 80s. Slave 1 has to have come from somewhere, and I don't think that was left till the prequels. But I also got a comment a while back saying that the fire spray Boba drives around with in the original trilogy is actually meant to be the Slave 2. I know in Legends, Boba goes through a Slave 2, Slave 3, Slave 4, and they're not just fire spray ships, but there's a ton of other ships that Boba drives around in. But as far as canon and consistency, which LEGO are trying to keep up with a bit more than historically they have, it is Boba's fire spray and Jango's Slave 1. At least for this video, the fire spray becomes the Slave 1. Whilst we're here, I've also used the same 1x3 yellow plate at the bottom, which at the time, again, didn't realise LEGO had done the same. But I've mixed up a few of these slopes, got rid of the sand green for grey, just to match the rest of the ship, added that yellow stripe down here, and elongated this green part, like we see on the Slave 1. But then I haven't replaced the stickers up here. Rather than the stickers, I have gone with 2 of these 2x2 green slopes, and then on top in the middle is where I've made the most changes, because we have got rid of those stickers, added some grey slopes to the outside to make sure the rest of the ship is still flush, and added a 2x4 double jumper, which has got to have come from one of the various Minecraft sets, and then a yellow 1x1, which I think looks better than trying to replace it with any sort of decal. That being said, I've kept these stickers from the original set. I just think they work with the longer pieces here, which LEGO don't make in this blue colour. This is one of the pieces that was replaced with, I guess, probably some other elements. I'm not quite sure how Skywalker Saga worked around this, but these blocks here on the side are also not made in dark blue. So I was able to 3D print them, thankfully, and I do think they look really cool and could be something we could see in the Slave 1 playset later this year. Chances are most of you probably already know this, but as no LAN members are talking about it, that's right, we're meant to be getting a Jango Fett Slave 1 playset on top of the UCS set, and better yet, it's coming with another Kamino minifigure. I'm crossing my fingers it's not the same one in Kenobi Starfire, which is still available and would go great with this model. It's slightly smaller than the 20th anniversary Slave 1 playset. It's probably going to be more like the size of the Mando and Boba Slave 1 that we got, or fire spray, should I say, for the Mandalorian. And whilst we're on recolors, these yellow slopes are another Skywalker Saga feat. I can't believe I didn't even look at this before making the ship. I basically have made the Skywalker Saga Slave 1 But these green plates, I tell you what, these green bricks even, plate brick, it's got the plate thickness, it's a slope. I think we'll consider this just an other element. These Lego elements or non-Lego elements, I'm not sure about the colour. I might try to colour them in sand green, but because we've got rid of the sand green on the rest of the ship, I don't think they look too out of place. Besides the top and all the various recolors, the rest of the ship is still the same, and we have also included the stickers on this wing here. Speaking of this wing, there is a fun little 4-length axle with a pin about 3/4 of the way up that fits in here, and we've also got these fire hydrant elements on the back which allow the stud shooters or flick fire missiles to be fired out very, very rapidly. And I can't believe I almost forgot about this, but these flick fire missiles are red, just like we see in the original trilogy, just like we see in the prequels, probably like we see in the Droid show as well. And a few of you in chat, thank you so much, did go back through all of the Lego models, and as far as we could see, they all came with some sort of red blaster. And I'm not quite sure why the 20th anniversary Slave One came with green. The Slave One and the fire spray has never seemed to fire green weapons. Even in the Book of Boba Fett, they were red blasters firing down on the speeder gang. So we had to make that change, but it's another inconsistency. Lego aren't perfect, and only the great might be good enough. Only the best is good enough. But it still means that they get the odd little colour wrong. So this isn't going against Lego, but if you do own the set, make the change from green to red. We get these in enough sets. You probably have a ton of these laying around. Have a whole section, wrong draw, have a whole section dedicated to these just at the back with a ton of bricks and various colours like silver and blue. Because we are using the 20th anniversary edition for Lego Star Wars, it does mean there's a full interior we're able to access through this hatch, and I would like to see a bigger interior, perhaps included in the body section here of the UCS Slave One. There's enough room to have the panel remove, or even just have the whole top bit come off with the cockpit. If they could connect this with a few Technic beams to make this a bit sturdy, you could definitely pop this off and store some other figures inside. Perhaps we'll finally be getting a hidden secret minifigure in a Lego Star Wars set, a bit like you-know-who in you-know-what Harry Potter set, and there is a Kaminoan hidden in that cockpit. I am sorry if I have just spoiled that for you and that turns out to be true, but I do think the chances are pretty low. Whilst we're on the topic, the Star Wars logo is meant to have a scene on the inside. Not as good as the Marvel set, but given the fact that a load of 18+ sets are selling really well without minifigures, I don't think that's going to harm Lego. And as for the minifigures that I'm going to include in this set, there will be a bigger Kaminoan in the works with quite a few minifigures, so maybe the Kaminoan will fit in, but members get an exclusive first look at a video coming out next week of me decaling some minifigures to go specifically with this Slave One. So if you've ever considered becoming a member and maybe not had the chance to do so, now might be the best time because those figures really do look awesome. If not though, don't worry, make sure you are back here in just over a week for a live stream on my birthday, April 15th, which so happens to be the same day Lego are doing their May 4th live stream, where not only we'll see sets like the UCS Slave One, which the images have already leaked for, but hopefully we'll get a look at the gift with purchases, thresholds, and all of the others. We know the polybag is the Falcon. We also know we're getting the mysterious gift with purchase, 190 pieces, that is meant to be the Kaminoan ship at the minute. But who knows, that could switch up really, really fast, and hopefully we get some really cool clone cadets in that. But there's usually also a third gift with purchase that so far I haven't seen any rumours for, so you won't want to miss out on that. And then of course we've got Star Wars Celebration that weekend, which we will be going live every single day, taking a look. The schedule is out, so the first day is going to be all about that Mandalorian movie. Hopefully we even get a trailer, but make sure you are keeping an eye on that live tab because we're now going live at least twice a week. Star Wars Celebration, 4 times in 1 week. That's crazy. And I also leave on screen the video where I improved my Kenobi Delta, which is going to look amazing next to this set. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and may the bricks be with you always.